for the public. There's several voters out here who've had problems with voting today, who've come to the board to express their problems. They've been passing me notes, but I figured it would be better. There are not a whole bunch of them, but there are at least one. Raise your hands, folks who passed me. One, and then someone for voter protection was in regard to a husband-wife situation. We've had 3 situations where husband and wife. Is there going to be an opportunity for them to voice their concerns?
Absolutely.
Okay. So will you let us know when that will come?
Yeah, I think we pretty much wrapped up on the report. The board went listen to some of the voters. Do we have any voters here that have difficulty or have been told they can't vote?
Not that problem. But
He did get the vote, but he had a problem that I think he needs to explain to you.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm...
Well, the only reason I brought it up to Congressman Jones, David Berenson, I live in University Heights. The only reason I brought it up to her was because I was hearing about these reports of problems that you got to the office, and this was one that wasn't mentioned. So this was one where one of my votes cast came for the opponent, and I just happened to notice it because when you do the summary of the vote, and I was being really careful. I would press the button and see that the X did, because the button doesn't always work. You press the thing. Sometimes you have to press it more than once. And so it took me a while to go back and correct it. And so I was able to correct it. I felt fairly confident that my votes were cast right. And then when I finished, I handed my voter card in and I reported it to the election workers. Their response really kind of hit me. They said, "Oh, you were on machine number 3. We've been having problems with that." Now this was like 7 o'clock this morning. This was at University Heights Library, Precinct A.
Precinct A?
Precinct A. And so...
And machine number 3?
Well, they called it the 3rd one. I don't know if they said number 3, but it was the 3rd one. I noticed it was the 3rd one from the wall. So, but then I didn't see them getting on the phone to report this. They said they would do something about it, but they just kind of like took it as a matter of fact, like, oh yeah, we've been having problems. Now, I'm sure that most voters don't look real closely. This was a judge race. There's like 30 dozen judge races, and I happened to see a name in there that I know I didn't vote for, otherwise I wouldn't have known. So I thought it was a problem, and then I decided after leaving, because I didn't see them doing anything about it, I reported it also to Election Protection. They said they would report it to the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections, and then I didn't hear it brought up here, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Your name for the record, I'm sorry.
Oh,
What's your address?
David Berenson, it's Berenson. Address is 3597 Silsby Road in University.
The other issue speaks to voter rolls, and I want to ask Leslye Huff to tell you, because otherwise it's coming through 3 voices.
One of the calls we
You want to state your name?
yes, Leslye, excuse me, sir. Leslye Huff, 1853 Page Avenue, East Cleveland. I'm affiliated with Voter Protection. We have been trying to facilitate this election and help you to help us all cast our votes appropriately. We got a call today from an elector, or at least one who wants to be an elector. His name is Benjamin Stewart. He and his wife, Britannia, have lived at the same address for 4 years. They voted in 2004. His name does not appear in the poll book. Hers does. We did some research. We found out that his name was listed as inactive at first. Later, it showed up as an HB3 rejection, or what do you call it? Purging. Excuse me.
You don't purge on HB3.
Well, I know that. That's exactly why it was so odd, because the 3rd time it was an HB inactive. Then it is now listed as a purge.
HB3 return?
No, first it was listed as an HP3 return when we looked it up, you and I, and Mr. Lawler.
When I was in, I didn't see it at all.
Okay, well, Mr. Lawler printed out the inactive status. You may have walked away, but you were in the room. And then, as I subsequently looked it up after asking repeatedly why his name would not show up, it was then listed as a purge, which means that in a matter of 15 minutes, some status was changed. And I raise this because we were thinking that maybe it was just a typographical error, that maybe because there was a husband and wife situation.
Here, we want to look it up now.
Yeah, that would be good on the DIMS. I'm sure it will be listed as a purge because I just did it before I walked in the room. Said that he was not on the polling list. And now he is?
Well, there's a Benjamin Stewart, and we gotta verify his birthday, but we have a Benjamin
His
Stewart.
birth date, it's 8/1971.
There he is right there, 2234 East 82nd Avenue.
And he has, that's what I was explaining earlier, he has not voted at that location, he's not lived at that location in over 5 years.
Okay,
He moved to 1718 Cliffview Road and voted in 2004.
okay.
And he says it was a regular ballot in 2004.
Did he ever change his registration with the Board of Elections?
Well, that should have changed the registration if there was any problem at all. In 2004, it should have been addressed.
Well, if the ballot was rejected, it would not have changed the registration.
Do you know if you voted a regular ballot or a provisional ballot in 2004? It was a regular ballot.
Definitely not deleted from the roll.
He's not deleted from the roll?
No.
It's a general election, it says he don't.
Perhaps we're making adjustments in his record at this point because people here at the board are trying to correct the situation.
No, you're not allowed to make any corrections to the system until after the election.
I see, well,
2004?
okay.
Oh,
You
you
do
have
not
to
go
go down, you don't see Stewart there. Keep down, go down.
Leslye, you may not have it on your resume.
Every 15 minutes, changes.
His wife's name is Ratanya, R-A-T-O-N-Y-A.
Let me look them up by address one.
18 Cliffview.
There's the time here.
Say it again?
Yeah, she's registered.
If he wants a provisional ballot though at this location where he currently lives at 1718 Cliffview, he's registered on East 84th, I believe, or 82nd, on the, in our system. So if he votes a provisional ballot now, gives his new address and his old address on East 82nd, we will count that ballot.
What he's arguing to you, and I'm sorry Leslye went to get her glasses, that is that both he and his wife voted at that address in 2004. You're showing that she voted at that address in 2004, right?
We're not showing him.
Well, I understand that, but they're representing that they both voted at that address in
Yes,
2004.
he used a regular little punch machine. He described it very clearly. It was not a provisional ballot, and he doesn't understand why his name doesn't show up at the polling place that he voted in 2004. It's very cut and dry.
I mean, I can't give you an answer to that question based upon the information we have, but I can assure you that you will never talk to a voter that tells you that they haven't voted or that they did vote.
I'm going to just step aside from that notice. I doubt if a man would call me to tell me that he tried to vote and couldn't and voted in 2004 if he didn't.
No, I don't think there's any question that he tried to vote and he couldn't vote and wasn't in the list because we don't show him on the poll books. But we show him not voting in 2004.
Oh, wow.
You show him not voting in 2004? He says
No.
that's unbelievable. I have him on the line with me, so
No,
that sounds
I'm
like
just saying that there it is. We're showing him as a no vote in 2004, and we didn't have a provisional ballot from him.
Please forgive me. Mr. Stewart is talking in my ear. He can hear what you're saying, and he's saying
Okay.
it's unbelievable. Somebody must be very good with computers if they can change it so that he didn't
You
vote.
want me to go pull the poll book, Mr. Bennett, for the 2004 general?
Yes.
That would be very helpful. I can only go by what the elector says, and he says he voted.
Precinct is different. Legal is 6G.
He never said he voted a provisional ballot. He said he voted a regular ballot in 2004.
You don't know anybody who does that.
Leslye, do you mind if you wait? We're going to get the poll book
Okay. That
for the
would help.
2004 election. We'll bring it up, and then you can come back up.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
try to see what happened. We
I'll
want to
have
try
him
to
call us
resolve
back.
it too.
Thank you. It is a puzzlement.
And I will stand on, you don't ever run into a voter that says that they don't vote. And yet we know that not everybody shows up.
Actually, sir, I've run into very many people who say they used to vote and they don't no longer vote because they don't have confidence. So I do, in fact, meet people who say they don't vote anymore, but this man is one who said he did vote.
All right.
That's all I can go by.
understand.
Thank you.
Congresswoman Tubbs Jones, did you have anybody else out there that wanted to
No.
address this?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anyone else out there. Apparently, the situation that Ms. Huff mentioned to you about the husband-wife thing, we had another similar problem with someone else. I don't have that name or anything like that. And I appreciate you taking the time to delve through the situation so we can get to the bottom of it one way or the other. And I appreciate it. And
Well, thank you. We really want to try to get
I understand you do, so do I. So I'm waiting.
And then I'll always be happy with the answer, but we want to get to the bottom of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Director?
No further items, unless there's further from the public.
Actually, there's one
We do
thing,
that.
one small thing at one poll at my voting. Could I just report one thing? I'm not sure of the consequences of it. One
See, I
thing.
think you're signed up here, Adele.
No, this is regarding this situation at just a Grace Lutheran Church. I mentioned it when earlier that none of the postings were made about issue 1. They were not sharing. The precincts were not sharing machines, number 1. But there were no postings made about the county, about the auditor position, nor about issue 1. So, I mean, people think that they're voting for something and then it's not going to be counted. I think it's very unfair to voters.
Did you?
We withdraw of candidates and issues.
said that her precinct did not have it out on your.
Oh, they didn't even know. They didn't even know. And I was there, I stopped by on the way down here, so it was 11:30, and I asked them why, you have no notification about issue 1, and they told me issue 1's on the ballot. So
I sent.
it might be an issue, it might be something that you take care of on a more global basis.
I sent
Thank you.
someone out to go over the board.
I do have one more question. I was asked to ask this. Does the board have a policy with regard to notifying the observers or how many people have voted at a particular hour, like at 1 o'clock, 60 people have voted, at 3 o'clock, 90 people have voted, at 7?
Polling, I believe that
We post the list of electors at 11 and 4 by law.
At 11 and 4 by law, and where in the voting place is that posted?
They try to post it so that people don't actually have to come in the location.
Right.
So that anyone, because anyone can look at
Right.
that.
So
They try to post it in a conspicuous place where everyone can view it without violating other election laws.
Right.
And they are informed that they are to let people in to look at that.
Okay.
But that people just can't loiter in there after.
Understood. If there's some way you all can get that message out, I've been told by several receiving calls, people doing different issues, trying to get a feel for how many people have voted and the like, that information is not being posted in all polling locations.
You're going to video the vote.
11.
Thank you.
By law.
by law,
Thank you.
by law, it's supposed to those who voted. Mr. Director.
Oh, no, it's something wrong.
I think what we, let's see, Leslye, you still here?
I'm here.
Okay. There's no signature in the book for
Okay.
that particular voter voting in 2004. The line is blank. If this is the actual sign-in sheet from the polling location.
And you don't have her signed either, though. Benjamin and Bertano. Same last name. Let's go back.
She's at a different precinct because her address was changed.
So can you check and see if he's in that same precinct? You understand what I'm saying? They're saying they voted from the same address. So if you could bring the precinct book where she is.
Yeah.
We can get that. You have somebody get the book.
Yeah, let me find out that.
Do it. You don't know she was there.
Yes.
She voted from?
10G.
She voted from 10G in 2004, and he voted from 6G in 2000, or he was registered in 6G in 2004.
That's a different thing. There are two Benjamin Stewarts. There's Benjamin M. Stewart, I believe, that was listed on your website.
The birth date matches the birth date that you gave us.
Okay, because there's a Benjamin M. Stewart and this Benjamin Stewart.
Benjamin M.
I believe it's an
Benjamin
M.
J. Born on the same day.
They're twins. That's okay. You got it. You got it. I'm not gonna.
You give us a report on anything? All right, so far. It hasn't been a heavy lift. Beautiful.
I'm just gonna read me.
It's impossible for him to be in two books. It's impossible for his name to be in two books.
No, his name wouldn't be in two books for one election.
But no,
This is 2004. He wasn't at 82nd Street in 2004.
Well, that's where we have him registered.
I know that's where he was. But I'm telling you, he wasn't there when he was at the new address.
Yes.
well, I guess he'll come with the book and we can answer the question real quickly.
Just so.
This is bad boy. Oh, there it is.
No, I mean, today, did you live there? Yes, he's already done it.
Yeah, I can't get in. I can't get the house up there.
Okay, well, that is why.
Oh, okay. I have to pull it.
No, that's not the, well, that's a good that one, they don't have that book here. Okay, now we got the book.
He signed in the back.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank God.
So he didn't go to provisional. Okay, so, okay, so this,
Could have
he
been.
was at this address.
Can't find, which means they can't find the provisional. He should have voted a provisional, he did not.
Thank
Which means they can't locate the provisional because he never voted a provisional.
Wasn't it, when he changed his address?
Okay.
Is that the issue?
Let me go, so I'm on record totally.
Yeah. It's not in the right.
Imagine that.
Chairperson?
In 2004, Mr. Stewart signed in the back of the book for 10G as if he would have voted a provisional ballot, changing his location to 1718 Cliffview Road in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes.
Okay, our staff noted on here that they couldn't locate the ballot, which means that our poll workers, and they often did, allowed him to drop his ballot in the ballot box without putting it in a provisional envelope.
As a regular
And
ballot.
it got counted as a regular ballot since, and there's a person right under him too that we couldn't locate the ballot. So as a result, we did not make a change to his registration because we didn't have a ballot. This time, his ballot is in an envelope, a provisional envelope. It's got his proper information on it, he stated, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, and we will make the change to his address this time when we get the provisional.
That's good. Let me ask you this, what about this Charles Kidd, and wouldn't that same thing happen to them too? And Mr. Rhodes,
Not necessarily.
Mr. Marshall?
The ones ones that are marked can't locate means we couldn't locate a ballot for them. So we did not update their record.
So everything was done properly.
But what I'm saying is there are 3 other names here that the same thing could be happening,
Well,
is happening
To a
to.
lot of people.
Mr. Chairman, there
Mr.
are
Stewart.
more than just those 3 names. There are names across the county that happened to. If the poll worker did not put their ballot in the provisional envelope.
So these are
And just
people who
dropped it
changed,
in the box.
Mr. Chairman, these are people who attempted to change their addresses at the polling site, gave the new address, but because they couldn't find the actual ballot, they didn't update the address. I would suggest that the procedure ought to be amended or shifted a little bit so that when there is an attempt by an elector to change their address at the polling site, that it actually happens whether they find the ballot or not. I mean, that's irrelevant in a certain sense. Their name is there, they've signed.
No, you,
But see, we have Mr. Rhodes that say that can't
fill out
locate.
the form, change the form to be a citizen.
You know what, I don't think we're going, hold on, I don't think we're going to resolve this issue today, but there's clearly some mismatch here happening, and I think that it's just another instance where I'm not trying to point fingers, I'm just saying, I have a voter from my congressional district saying, Congresswoman, I voted, and in fact, he did vote, and that he did vote, and he signed in the book where he said he lives. And so I'm just saying, as people come forward, we need to address the
We
issue.
agree.
That's my point.
We don't have a problem.
Okay, thank you.
He did in fact vote. I'm more concerned about these other 3 names here that says can't locate. For instance, Richard Lee.
I'm concerned as well. Absolutely. And I would suggest that you found 3 in that one book, that there are books across the country, and there are other names as well.
Check the graveyard.
Michael, is a procedure. If they do something like this, we can't locate,
Can't locate them, they're dead.
and we have to assume that maybe they cast a regular ballot. Wouldn't we still go in and change name and address?
We
Wouldn't
don't have
do that?
we don't have the proper form to change their name and address. We need a birth date. There's no birth date on here. We need to make sure we choose the right person. Because I don't know where they, when Mr. Stewart signed in this book, he didn't give us his old address. So I don't know which Mr. Stewart to pick to change his address, since there was 2 or 3.
So in 2004, this might have been a combination, because if it would have gone in a provisional envelope,
It would have had all
it would have had all the information, and we would have been able to make the correction by, we are assuming that it was deposited in the regular box out there.
Mr. Chambers, I'm confused. I thought that he gave his new address in that,
But we didn't have an old address to identify.
He did.
He gave a new address here in the book, but he didn't have an old address for us to identify
well,
which
that could be a
Mr.
part of
Stewart.
your amended process, to ask for the old address when they give you the new address, and that's a very simple thing
Well,
to do.
had he completed the provisional envelope like it was supposed, like the poll workers were supposed to have him do,
Yes.
we would have had all the proper information to make
But
the
this
change.
was a poll worker error.
Yes, I'm aware that it was a poll worker error, and I
And
will just,
because it was made at the poll, there was no ability for the board to pick up the information that they needed to change that registration, because they did not have his old address. If they would have had it, if he'd have filled out the provisional ballot. So,
with all due respect, sir, due diligence is look at the current address. We have yellow pages, we have white pages. White pages serve the residents of this county. Look his name up, ask his old address.
we ought to, Leslye, we have to follow statutory requirements too. We need a little bit more information than that.
But
you
it's
make a
not
good
his fault.
point.
It wasn't his
Come
fault.
on.
No, it wasn't.
It was not, there's being clear, Leslye, it was not the voters' fault.
Benjamin's fault.
Exactly.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Story.
And now, a certain person should eat their words about voters who say they vote and they
They still,
With all due respect, sir.
Leslye, with all due respect, they still tell you that.
And they do
Statistically,
vote,
they will tell
apparently.
you that. And I'll bet you if we go out and take an independent survey of those who don't show up today to vote, you will find out that they'll tell you, oh, I did vote.
Well, I appreciate that, sir, and I think we should do something like that. And that way, we would probably find a lot more Mr. Stewarts out there who attempted to vote and were denied the process because we didn't do due diligence and go out and look for them. So maybe we should do a study like you suggest.
Thank you. Marcia McCoy. Is Marcia McCoy in the room? Marcia, I'm sorry.
Chairperson, may I add my name again?
You have something else to say?
Yes, sir.
We're going to move on. We all have responsibilities to get back to. So we're going to hear, we're limiting everybody to 5 minutes. Dr. Robbins took a little bit longer. Marcia, go ahead. State your name, address, please.
Okay, I can yield my time to the attorney, because mine was brief, if that's okay.
Okay.
Appreciate that. It won't take long. Attorney Leslye Huff, 1853 Page Avenue, East Cleveland. I have yet another set of electors whose names appear as active voters in the Dems, but do not appear on the poll books. And I'm not exactly sure the reason for that error, but it is an error. Which,
Why don't you,
Fran, would you?
why can she go down and work with
Yeah.
the family issue?
That's what I wanted to do. I asked Fran Lally if you can go down there with Mr. DeFranco and get into the books and let's see if we can't resolve the issue.
well, we can resolve the issue. I'm only raising that one more time, Mr. Bennett, because I wanted you to know that there are some other voters that say they voted and they in fact do. And the other reason in more serious terms, if there is a glitch in the system that allows for that kind of thing to occur, I wanted you to be aware of the instances where it does occur so you can make the repairs in a systematic way.
There is no such thing as a perfect election.
Exactly true, and we're all just humans.
But I would ask
do
if you
appreciate
would go
it.
downstairs and try to resolve this matter.
I will, I've already started, thank you.
Marcia?